Welcome back to the Danette May Show. This is part 2 of my conversation with the amazing women from the Almost 30 podcast. If you haven't listened to part 1 yet, I definitely recommend starting there. We dive deep into some powerful topics. In this part, we continue our interview-style chat, exploring even more insights and stories I know you'll love. Let's dive in.
What are some practices you do as like a business owner, as a mom? You're married, you have friends. Like, how do you manage all parts of your life, and what are some of your non-negotiable self-care or just life strategies that you use?
Yeah, I have actually some non-negotiables, and they have shifted a little bit, but there are some that have stayed the same. And one is absolutely nature time. So I don't care if it's snowing, I don't care if it's raining, I'm always out in nature. And I think that's because it reminds me of my breath. It reminds me of I'm connected to something bigger than myself. And it gets me out of my head and into the spirit realm in my mind. Non-negotiable is nature time. Another non-negotiable for me is something green that came from the earth every day. So I try not to give too many rules around nutrition for me. And this is what I try to teach other people is just do something that came from Mother Earth only. Like, it can be a concoction of different greens, but there has to be something green and dark in there. So I do that every day, no matter if I'm traveling or whatnot. So that's just an easy non-negotiable. And the other one is gratitude. This isn't something that I obviously came up with, because all the greats of the greats have talked about this, and it's just something that we can do. And I think a lot of times people do it and then they forget, and then they do it and forget. But the greats of the greats didn't forget. Like, they did gratitudes every single day, and ideally in the morning, like really filling myself up before the kids. Like, in the early days when my youngest or the younger, they would get up like as soon as they could smell you awake. It was like 5:30 in the morning. You're like, no. So I'd literally get up 4:30, 5 a.m. because I really wanted that sacred time. And so I do soul writing in the morning. And I honestly, like, part of that is just pouring out gratitude. And there's always something to be grateful for.
And being in business with your husband, how have you found that to be? Has that been like an evolution and just like a recalibration of your personal relationship?
We found each other through business. We started out of the gate in business together. So I don't even know what it's like. So I always tell him, I'm like, the part we should be worried about is like when we don't talk business together, because we do business really well together. And I know that's not the case for everyone. And we speak at a lot of business masterminds around this, because we have some really juicy things that we do as partners. And it's a lot about passion and a lot about sex, but I think is in a different realm of business that keeps all of it tied together really beautifully. But at the beginning, or I have to say the first year, it was not super smooth. And we were newly married. He's navigating being a father to these girls. He's now a husband, and we're also doing business. And the business isn't like awesome, right? It's not like generating awesome money or anything. It's like gritty, it's dirty. And so it wasn't super easy. And he was massively controlling. And I was like, you cannot control me. So we were bumping. And if you were to ask him, because all of a sudden we would have deep conversations about it, and it just shifted. And he said, I just decided one day, because we were like, okay, it's either the marriage or the business. Like, and obviously it's going to be the marriage. So we got to find another partner for Danette in it. I was literally reaching out to some of our friends that are in the space and being like, do you want to partner with me? Because I'm moving Greg out. And he just one day goes, I decided I'm going to let Danette do whatever she wants. I'm not going to ask. And the business just took off from there. And I honestly can say, not just because he's my husband, he is the best business partner. And it's been awesome since. But we do our own things, and we communicate well, and we also keep the love really tight.
What do you mean when you say love, keep the love tight?
We have, like, for example, we have these 24-hour, we'll call them intimacy dates. And we do these very strict non-negotiables. So every week we sit down and we grade our relationship. So we ask specific questions. We document everything. So it's every week on the very simple level. It's like, what did I do well this last week? Where could I have improved? What can I support you on this week? Like, how can I show up? What would be 1 to 2 things that if I did, you would know that I really care about you and that I'm thinking about you? And we literally keep it simple. So that's every week, every day. It's either a bath or a walk in nature. And the bath is not sexual, but it's like connecting time, just connecting about the day. And then once a month is an 24-hour intimacy date. And This is where he is honestly honoring me as, like, we use this word goddess, but if I were your queen or I was your goddess in your eyes, like, what would you set up? Would you set up roses in the bath? Would you set up like some kind of special thing, whatever it is, but it's for 24 hours of being completely honored? And I'm telling you, that sounds fun, but I'm telling you on a very deep spiritual level, to have someone honor you for 24 hours, like only pleasuring you, not thinking about their pleasure. What would make them feel like the ultimate queen for 24 hours? Like, it doesn't stop. And it brings out a part of you that's like powerful, and they feel it, and it just magnetizes not only the relationship, but it magnetizes the business. If you're doing business together, it magnetizes everything.
And does he have one for you?
Yeah.
Do you have one where you do it
No.
for him? Okay.
But life. And we were just talking about it because we were at a business conference, and so many people, they had us speak around this at a different one, but a lot of people keep asking us about it. And that's the big question. What about him? And everyone's missing the point, because I get so much out of this. They think that they have to return it, but when you give, it's like you're getting it back. Like, you are obviously, the woman opens up in a way that she hasn't opened up before, so you're receiving that. And so that's the point, is he is receiving more than he ever would. Like, he definitely knows it doesn't feel obligatory. So when you do give, it's, whoa, she's doing this because she feels it, not because she thinks she needs to do it. Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful.
What's some examples of some of the 24 hours, like things you've done?
Oh man, we just had one because we try to group them on when we have to travel, because then it's something new too, because it's a little easier to get into it when it's a new location.
Yes.
So for this one, for example, he has, obviously, it's simple. This one was because he had the strawberries that are dipped in chocolate, champagne delivered to the room. He set up these massages and then had made sure they did these simple things get me. Like the front chairs that overlook the ocean, he made sure that we got those front chairs, calling ahead to be like, I want her to have the best, and can she have the best massage person? Then he makes sure the best dinner, and then he's massaging me after the massage, and like running a bath and brings rose petals in a bag and puts them in the bath. Like, these little things for me are the bigger things, but every woman's a little different, so you have to communicate with your man like what really fills you up. But for me, it's him packing the rose petals, knowing that he like got my favorite salts. Oh, he also got these oils, but I like organic oils. I don't want some sex oils from some sex store. I want the natural, high quality.
Yes. The woo more play.
Yeah. So like him doing that and sourcing that means a lot to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
The thoughtfulness.
Yeah. The listening.
Yeah.
With the grading, because if people were going to implement something like that, the grading system, or at the end of the week, how do you get your ego out of it? How do you make it so it's helpful and not
hurtful?
Yeah, like an opportunity for passive aggressiveness or
Yeah, first off, you would want to do it in a neutral space, right? So it's set on a certain day at a certain time. So the odds of anyone coming in charged are already diminished, right? So you're not having this conversation and you're like, actually, you've just messed up, so we need to talk.
Yes.
It's okay. Ours is Sunday at 3 p.m. So it's usually sitting outside in the summer, so it's beautiful. There's been no charged emotion, most likely. And so it's also just the way you communicate, right? So we're both setting an intention that we love each other and we're trying to grow from this. Because there are times when he has said things and I'm like, that stinks that I showed up that way. And that kind of sucks. And I also feel really justified in how I showed up. But you just hold your tongue, right? Like you listen and you go, I hear that. And so we definitely use what we call completion conversations in our conversation. So I would like to get complete with you. Can I? And then so they share what happened, and your only job is to listen and not be like, I did it because of this. Because that's usually how I want to show up truly. I want to be like, this happened to justify it, but you don't. And you really try to feel into like, how did that make them feel more than your justification for it, even though you might be right, doesn't matter. You're just sharing and listening to him say, okay. And then you go, oh, I understand how you feel. Because if that happened to me, and I know an example and it looked like this when it happened to me and it made me feel like this, is that how I made you feel? And then they're like, yeah, that's actually how it made me feel. Then they go, oh, wow, she really listens to me, or he listens to me. They get it. They get what I'm feeling. It's not about the actual action. It's about, do you get how it made me feel? And then you can go, in the future, I'll be aware of this. And then you can say, are you complete? And then they can say, yes, I'm complete, or no, I'm not complete. And you need to keep providing examples of how you possibly made them feel from your own examples of how someone had maybe treated you that same way. So you see how that works?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where it diminishes that drama or that pinpointing. But trust me, like there's been times when we've had these like check-in times and it's been a little heaty. I'm like, oh, I'm so justified in this. And I have to keep remembering and using my tools to be like, it's not about that right now. It's about really letting him know how it made him feel. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you repeat what you ask each other on that day? Just so
Yeah,
can try
totally.
this at home.
Yeah, so write this down, everybody. And I don't know what order I did it in, but it's, you go, you should start probably with that one because it feels really good to hear this is what you did and this is what made me feel really good. What could I have done better on? And that's also, it's not like something that I did wrong. It's what could I have done better on? And then how can I show up this week? What do you have on your plate this week? How can I support you? And then you go a little step further because then it gives someone an opportunity to be like, I have this many podcasts, I have this meeting, I have this, and you know what? I'm also gonna be starting my period and I'm gonna have all these emotions and I just need you to give me a hug and I need you to tell me I'm pretty and I need you to just be like, you got this, babe, and that's it. That's stuff that they're like, got it. Yeah. And they feel really
Yes. Task them.
Yes. And then you go, if I were to do one or two things to make you feel loved, what would those be? And then you can just put them in your memory bank and then you can act on one or two of them that week and they'll be like over the moon, right?
Yeah.
No.
And I also think it brings us out of our heads a little bit when we're able to have these really open conversation about what's working, what's not, because especially I think in newer relationships, but I think some more seasoned relationships have this too, where there's so much that's unsaid and then the energy just gets a little funky and you get to a place where you're like, how the fuck did we get here?
Yeah.
How did we get here? And so these like regular, almost scheduled check-ins are so important. As far as like just keeping on the relationship piece, I feel like bringing money into the equation with some relationships can get a little bit funky. Was that always an open conversation with you both because the business was first with your relationship, or how did you navigate that?
Yeah, money's never really been that big of an issue other than he would call me out on stuff because I had money blockage. For example, how many years ago was it? It was when we weren't really doing what we're doing now, for sure, financially. And we got invited, at the time, it was the Ritz, to go to this 10-year anniversary. And everybody was staying there. And I was like, we can't afford to stay there. I'm going to book this other place and ride a stupid bike that they give us up a hill and be all sweaty to this venue. And he was like, I remember that happening. And I was like, at least we get free cookies. And he was like, I think you need to check your money story. Like, you're justifying us booking here because we get a free cookie, like to save $100 a night. And that might have been justified if we really needed to save $100, but it was more in my head. And then when we moved into our new home, I literally bought the plastic $10 garbage cans. And he was like, for the rooms. And he was like, what makes you think you can't have a metal one with a lid on top? He's like, you really got to work with your money story. Little things like that. So we would bump into things like that, but it was always really, I always felt like he was right. And it wasn't hurtful. It was just like, dang, I think I'm there, but then I'm not. Like little things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember getting older with furniture and just being like, oh, I have to go to IKEA or I have to go to wherever the place was. It has to be like a couch that's like, I think our first couch we got in Venice was like on Craigslist. It was like $300. And I was like, oh, this is what you do, which is totally fine. But then I realized I'm like, oh, I can, as you get older, you want pieces that last long and you want to invest in your space more. And so it was like the permission to be like, oh, I can invest and feel really good where I live. Like it doesn't need to be furniture that I don't really care about or I don't really love. It just needs to be there. All of that sort of thing. And I think the money story things are really huge. And in your book, you talk a lot about the river of abundance and feeling into that. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, the river of abundance. So I equated it in the book, and I still feel this because I grew up rafting. That was like our Disney World. Like we never went to Disney World. We never went anywhere that required money. So we went river rafting.
Very Colorado.
Yeah. And I grew up in Idaho, but river rafting
Idaho.
down the river of no return. Yeah. And so like anytime, like And I literally, even during the times when we were growing this business, or just me growing into the human I am, because it's not really about the business, it's really me growing into my potential, I would sit by rivers and just put my dreams out through, like, I'd pluck a flower and throw it in the river and just watch it go down. And I'm always thinking about, where can I get into the greatest flow of letting the dreams come and everything flow. I'm meant to be wealthy. Like, my greatest way I can show up, I know, because I have these big dreams, I've got to have some resources to do it. So the river is really this reminder that anytime you have a negative thought, you're swimming upstream, which is very difficult in a river if anyone's ever tried to swim upstream. Even the lazy river is very difficult to swim upstream. So watching your negative thoughts, because that's as soon as you're swimming upstream. So always checking in. Are you talking about being tired? Are you talking about being busy? Are you talking about having lack? Are you talking about people? Are you anything that's in a negative spin is swimming upstream. So you're always wanting to be like that flower or that stick and float. So just speak into the positivity of where you're going and trusting in that flow.
And from there, that's where all things come in as far as abundance. So
I
it's
believe so.
allowing it. Yeah.
I've watched in my own life
Yeah.
and my clients' lives. It sounds so whimsical when we talk about it over like these microphones, but
No.
it's truly true.
What
Yeah.
did you ever not believe it? What do you do about that? Because I always, and I'm saying that because I'm not sure what's the truth. And I did a lot of my mindset when I was younger, and I think it really helped. But I've always thought about, do you believe that by saying it enough, you begin to believe it? Or do you believe that there is a process of fully integrating, say for you're broke, you before you had $47 in your bank account and you're going to the river and you're like, I am rich, I am wealthy. Was there a part of you that didn't believe, or did you have to like energetically set yourself up to try and believe? Or what is that like from an energetic perspective?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So this is my belief system, and this is also from studying the power of the mind. Like, we're just a bunch of neurons like that are firing, right? So you can actually, what your mind is firing is what actually starts to conspire in the body and externally, right? So what you're neurologically putting out through words, through thoughts, through energy being your emotion, right? Are you angry? Are you feeling this sense of restriction and lack and nervousness about not having enough? Or are you feeling like, yeah, there's more where that came from? That's a great statement. Anytime I get an idiot tax, I always am like, an idiot tax means something that I did dumb that required money. I'll be like, there's more where that came from.
Yes.
I'm learning. There's more where that came from. So yeah, it's a little bit of both, right? Because it's not like you just believe it and that's going to happen. I wasn't always believing it, but the more you say it, inevitably it will change. Your system will grab a hold of it and it will shift within your system. So you got to keep up with it. It's like anyone I don't like journaling, it doesn't work for me. I'm like, you probably did it 2 or 3 times. You got to be consistent with anything. I just worked out for this whole week and I still didn't lose all that. I don't look any different. It's all about consistency and things start to shift. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Who are some people that you look up to that are your mentors,
I thought a lot about that.
if you have any?
I don't actually have any that are living. That I think that we're all just doing the best we can. I would say the mentors that I have are not ones that are on social media. There wouldn't even be someone you would know, because they're the ones who I think are living truly into the breath that I think I'm always still striving to get to. They're just in that joy and understanding even on a deeper level of what stuff I get tied up into in the human realm. But the people that I've looked up to, and granted, maybe if I met them, I wouldn't, but they're fun for me to think about. Obviously, I've mentioned his name, but Napoleon Hill. I feel a deep reverence and respect. I can look up to a lot of people, but like when it comes to really a deep reverence for, I would say he's my main.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I think it changes too, whatever season you're in.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can be like, oh, I'm really into this person right now, or I'm really inspired by this person. And so it's hard sometimes to have someone that's your everlasting
Totally. Because
person,
you start to learn more and more too. You're like,
Yes,
it's like your parents. You're like, dang.
100%. I'm excited to talk about the book. I'm excited to talk about Earth Echo. What should we talk about first? Let's talk a little bit about the book, since I think some of the topics that we talked about in this interview are in the book, even like the relationship stuff, the abundance stuff. So I'd love to hear more about embracing abundance.
Yeah. This book came from abundance and thought, because even my first book with Hay House, I didn't have a agent. I never reached out to them. They came to me through an intention of me writing down and meditating.
Wow.
Hay House had come to me about my first book and asked me to write about whatever I wanted to write about and do it in 6 weeks. So that was that first book. And then I got done with that and I thought I wasn't writing another book for a while. And they called me again. And it was December, right before 2020 hit. And they were like, we feel like another book's ready to happen. Do you have any ideas of what you want to write about next? And I was like, I gave them like 5 because I'm like, that's who I am. Like, I can't pigeonhole some stuff in my mind. I'm like, oh, I'm excited about all these things. And she, who's Patty gifted at Hay House, is just such a dear soul. She was like, I just feel like people really want to know how you're doing this. Like, how are you creating these abundance in your relationship and as a mom and as a businesswoman? And it's fun because she knows more about my businesses and knows more about my life. And so she's, I think people would really like to just know these practical things that you are doing and in a really practical way. And I was like, and I think it would be really cool. So we brainstormed it. It'd be really cool if you could do it in really short stories, something that someone could just read for 5 minutes and walk away with something that would move the needle forward in that particular area. And for me, I've always been like, I don't want to just talk about money. Like, to me, abundance is a 360-degree experience. Money is just one teeny aspect of abundance. And I wanted to talk about health, and I wanted to talk about relationships and fun times and the things that are abundant and that ultimately make up the greatest happiness. Like, we get to have it all. And so it's these short stories of, you can take away from, it's either a myth or it's a personal story from me or someone that's a legend that's done it. And then these small little movements that I've personally done every single one in my journey that you can implement that day throughout the week and start to see the miracles, start to get a grasp of the hope that's opening your eyes to this abundance that's waiting to embrace you.
Yeah, I love that. I love the piece about money is such a small part of abundance.
Yeah,
I think that is so true. And we've had Cacao Bliss for a long time now. And you sent it to us a couple years ago.
We're going to use it for our retreat too.
Yeah, a couple years ago.
Remember that?
So happy.
Yeah, I remember.
I was so happy.
And I feel like just before that was my first kind of foray into a cacao ceremony and doing it on your own. Our friend Peter Kelly, I think, was the first that introduced me to it. And I just have found it to be such a beautiful ritual. And I feel like now that I'm in New York, something like that is so grounding. So I would love to, just learn more about the inspiration behind starting a food company. It's not easy. We don't know personally, but we've heard many a story of just how difficult it can be, and to have such high quality and to retain like the intention and the integrity is not always easy.
Yeah, it means a lot to me that you can actually understand that, because I don't know if everyone can fully understand, because there's a difference between putting food or a product out into the world and putting something that's actually cultivated, organically, regenerative, thinking about not only the plants and the soil and the giving back of Mother Earth, but it's like the farmer, like all the way down, and then to the packaging, right? Like thinking about, oh man, I just put these amazing ingredients in plastic. Oh my gosh, I got to think about this. I'm contributing to the problem versus helping. And so we've thought about a lot of that. It's actually Peter Kelly who phrased this, is Mother Earth is our seed. And we take that on so literally that every decision we are making is like asking her, like, is that the right one? Because just because it's a great ingredient that could help people, if it's massively consumed, are we actually creating more problem for it? So that's something that we're always checking in on. But how Earth Echo came about was, I'm just a lover of indigenous ways. It's been a secret, not so much a secret anymore, but I put out intention to be where no blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl would be, and was always wanting to learn from like the indigenous tribes that no one knows about, that haven't been diluted with these other ideas, that just really held on to sacred ritual that's been passed on. And I know, and I feel it to my bones, and the ones that I have had the privilege of visiting, they have this wisdom that I know could heal our planet so much. And I'm like, when I go and I get to sit in circle, it's been one of the most profound like learnings for me, has helped my life tremendously. And so one in particular, I was sitting in circle, and obviously cacao got passed around, but it wasn't bitter cacao. They had fused with some turmeric, and they had put honey in there. and some cinnamon, and it was just like super delicious. And at the time, I didn't really know all the science behind it, but I was always into superfoods, but I was like drinking this elixir and I was having like this amazing experience, and they had me set an intention, and they were like, in 7 days, this intention's going to happen. And they were talking about the heart opening of raw cacao and all these ingredients. And so when I was in that circle, I had one intention, but I also was like, oh my gosh, I've got to bring cacao and this heart opener and the anandamide in the cacao to the world. Like, maybe it doesn't even matter if they understand it. If they drink it, their hearts will be open and they'll connect in a different way with one another, because I was feeling it in my own system. But then 7 days later, the thing that I had intended was manifesting. And I was like, whoa, like this is something really powerful. So for 2 years, every time I'd go in nature, it was like, you have to do this. And it was like, oh, add lucuma, add mesquite. Like, it was being shown to me. So then I started just mixing in my kitchen and having my community. I told my community, because we have 1.5 million on the email list. I was literally giving them exact recipe. I was like, drink this, make this in your kitchen. And they were making it and people were writing in one after like depression. Like, we can't say any of these claims, but they were telling us all about these things that were happening to them. And I was like, team, we have to do this. I know we don't know anything about creating like a superfood company, but we have to do this. And then finally they were like, she's not going to stop talking about this. And I knew it was going to happen. They were like, you don't know if it's going to be successful. I was like, I know it is. I get that you want to split test this stuff and you have to have all your numbers, just go. And we did. And the first launch day, it was a massive success. The numbers in like product companies, like, it was extreme. And I was like, this isn't because we did something right. It was because we did what was right with what it was in our hearts, not. And so ever since then, that's been the behind the nemesis, like, of really what was going on indigenously and what were those pure ingredients and certain things for remedies for different parts of the body. And so that's where all the other ingredients are coming from as well. And we have some really amazing things coming down the pipeline as well. But Cacao Bliss was the start of it all. And I never thought it was going to be a bunch of products. I really thought it was just going to be cacao, but it just keeps growing. Yeah.
You're like, I kept creating. Do you know anything about the science of cacao? What is it doing?
Oh yeah. I'm obsessed with cacao now. There's two things that are happening, and I'll try to keep this because I'm a nerd and I could go off forever and people might roll their eyes back. But the biggest one is anandamide. Now there's only 2 foods in the world that contain anandamide. Now anandamide's what's released in your body when you're making love, like truly euphoric lovemaking. Anandamide's released in the body. It's also when you feel like this deep connection with someone, you're just like feeling this high joy when you've ever felt that. Anandamide's being released in the body. So it's this type of mushroom, and cacao, raw cacao, ceremonial grade being the best, contains this anandamide. And that's why when it's consumed, you feel a sense of euphoria, your heart opens, you feel connected to whoever you're drinking it with, maybe even more connected to yourself, this more reverence and grace for yourself. And then it contains theobromine. And a lot of people are like, that's caffeine. It's different than caffeine. Theobromine is what's released in the body, opens up all the cells of the oxygen in the body, right? So it's helped with Alzheimer's, making you feel like clear in the brain, like it's opening up all those oxygen centers in the brain so that you can, like I always say, I drink it when I'm like, okay, I want to set an intention, but I also want to be really clear and efficient. And that's when I do my biggest writing. I'll do whatever project I've got going on. It seems to flow easier. And I know it's not only intentional, but it's also chemical.
Last question. Have you done them in groups of women? Like, how healing has that been to do it with women? Or do you do it with your husband? Or when do you do ceremony?
Actually, which I thought was so brilliant of him, Dave Asprey asked me at his event to keynote with cacao ceremony, which I was like, are you sure you want me to introduce my cacao over your bulletproof coffee? But what
nice
I'm making one now.
Yeah. And it was funny because they came back, and the MC and some of the workers, and they're like, this is 2,000 very scientific people. Don't be sad if they don't like receive this very openly. They were trying to prep me that these guys might not be as open as I would want them to be. And I'm like, I knew what was about to happen. And it literally was the most powerful. So they literally passed out 2,000 cups of my cacao out into this audience of all these different biohackers. And we did this massive intention where we called in the ancestors. It was meditation. And then everybody held hands at the end. And there were grown men weeping and people were in their heart, and it was really profound. But I've done them like at A-fests in different parts of the country. I've done them in women's circles, but also it doesn't really matter. Even if someone's not even aware, the cacao is medicine and it's doing what it's going to do. So
Powerful. Thank you for being here.
thanks for having me.
Beautiful. So much fun.